It's time once again for the Passion to Succeed podcast, where we explore the traits, mindsets, and attitudes of passionate and successful individuals. This show is for anyone who wants to make a difference, make more money, learn from the greatest minds, and discover how to be more successful in all you do and doing it with a pure passion to succeed. Here's your host, serial entrepreneur, successful author, and the world's most passionate master coach, Craig White.
Hi everyone, welcome to another one of our Passion to Succeed podcast show, a podcast show to really enable you to make a lasting difference and create change in your life and the environment around you. I'm really excited today to be bringing an amazing guy, a guy called Nick Kershaw that's gone on a journey of worldwide impact through creating and being the founder and CEO of Impact Marathon Series, a really inspiring opportunity to get involved into the communities, to make a difference and be a part of something that is being impactful on a daily basis around the world. You know, Nick is a former city worker who left finance really to trace his dreams and unite runners and uplift and empower communities all over the world. You know, I'm unaware, maybe you've read the book Leaving Microsoft to Change the World by John Wood. Well, look, this really inspires me to another level. And this guy, Nick Kershaw, is really making a difference with his business partners around the world today. So I'm really excited to bring this show to you and share with you an opportunity to raise your game and make everlasting change in your environment and the environment around you. Enjoy today's show.
Hey, that's great. How you doing?
I'm amazing, Nick. How are you?
Yeah, super.
Happy days. So where are you at the moment then? Is it Kenya?
Nairobi.
You're at Nairobi.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a funny old time to be here because elections, they'd very rarely pass off without issues here. So it's before in the run up to elections, the opposition does everything they can to just sort of disrupt things. So there's lots more sort of random arrests. There's lots more power cuts every day, and it's just very strange things start to happen. So and then who knows after the election? It's going to be an interesting one because the president is likely to lose. So it's all very interesting.
So what brings you to Kenya at the moment then? Because I mean, I've just been looking at your website and in a bit more detail today, mate, and it's just absolutely amazing what you do. And it kind of, you know, when you have like the little happy endorphins bouncing around your bloodstream, and I just love it, mate, and it kind of sits really well with me. So I'm really pleased that we get the opportunity to talk, if I'm honest. But what brings you to Kenya?
So I mean, we have two races that we're working on here. One in October and one in June.
Okay.
So I'm here now till October working on this race, which is for one charity in particular. So we have the two different types. We have the Impact Marathons where we work with beneficiary charities, and it's sort of branded up Impact Marathons. Mm-hmm. And then we have white label events that we create for organizations. Okay. So we've got these two races in Kenya are both white label ones. Right. So they're not branded, they're not on the website, Impact Marathons and like that, but we do the same thing, but just for one charity that finds their runners, that gets the fundraising in from them.
Exciting times, really good. So are you an avid runner yourself? Do you take part in many of the races, or? Well,
I don't get to take part in the races. No, it's on the day. It's just mayhem. Okay. Although I did actually in Nepal this year, I was on sort of start finish line area, and I put on my watch anyway, and I got to 23 kilometers in the day. So it's not you do get quite a lot of running, but no, I don't run the races, but I love running. Like running for me has been since 2011 was when I first started, and I love it completely, and I just think it's one of the most greatest empowerment tools in the world. And for me, it's just been such a special journey to see people. You run with people and you connect in a really special way, and there's a magic to that. So for me, running is it's a little bit hard at the moment because I'm right in the middle of Nairobi and the altitude's amazing. But I love it. I miss it when I don't run, for sure.
Oh, fabulous. It's amazing what you're doing, and Passion to Succeed as a show, and my passion is really, we come from a similar kind of, I guess, philosophy of that individually we have the opportunity to impact our immediate environment and create a ripple effect of impact around the world, whatever that may be, whether that, you know, is it just positively influencing someone's mindset, their environment, or really taking it to the level you are with the Impact Marathon team, where you're, really raising awareness, you're getting involved. And one of my passions for many years, and it's the reason why I started Passion to Succeed, is really to be able to take mindsets and philosophies to the world to really enable people to start believing in the possibilities that lie within them, around them, and before them. So it's really fascinating that you've got this passion to make a difference and get involved in different cultures and communities, but obviously take other like-minded people on a journey with you. It's really, really exciting.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely it. It's been a really fun journey, and I think that's absolutely it. In the end, the best moment about Impact Marathons is usually the hug at the finishing line, and you just see like people who've just left everything out on the course, and because I do the starting gun and only, I sort of see everybody go off in that nervous excitement that you have before a marathon, and then they go on this journey out there, and our last finisher in Nepal was 8 hours 37 minutes. Wow. And that's a heck of a time to be out running, walking, digging deep within you, and then to have that privilege to see them as they cross the line, to be the first face there. It's just really wonderful, because the whole week is a journey for people. The race is just like the celebration of that.
Well, Nick, do me a favour, if you may, because we've got listeners all around the world, passionate individuals, entrepreneurs, people that work in different industries. I remember, one of the very first sort of 2 to 3 podcast shows that I did a few years ago. I had a guy that was training for the London Marathon, and he just found that the shows were really uplifting. And I just think, a lot of people are just listening to me talk, and I guess they're almost like listening to us and thinking, hang on a minute, what's Impact running for marathons? Who is this Nick Kershaw? I mean, from what I've looked at and am aware of, and please fill me in, you've really gone on a quite unique journey. Can I ask you a question before we kind of go down this kind of line? Have you ever read a book called Leaving Microsoft to Change the World by John Wood? You know what?
That's on my Amazon wish list. I've never read it.
Do you know what? Oh, mate, and it just really, when I was looking at your website and like kind of looking into you a little bit, I kind of thought, God, this guy's doing the same sort of thing. And that this guy basically left Amazon, left Microsoft, and literally started going around, in the areas like Nepal and Cambodia, and really making a difference through, different line of obviously you're doing it through marathons. He was doing it through, creating libraries and community centres. And mate, yeah, I think you should read it. I think you'll find it really exciting.
I'll get it ordered today. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just wanted to ask, because looking at what you're doing, it just kind of made me think, God, it's almost like the same sort of passion and journey to really have an impact on the kind of the less fortunate, people of the world, I guess. So where did it all start for you? Because you used to work in the city. In London, yes. And I read something about you'd had an interview for a position at Goldman Sachs. That's right, yeah, and that's kind of where it kind of started for you. Is that right? I mean, give us a little bit of your background, Nick, and where you've gone on this journey to kind of really make a difference.
Yeah, so I started really getting the feel for everything like this when I was 18, and I took six months to go play football in Ghana. And I was playing football in Ghana, and that was an amazing experience. I came back, went to university, and then while I was at university, I started organising Kilimanjaro trips. I thought it was like a really good way just to keep on getting back out to Africa, and I thought girls would like me. And well, I got back out to Africa quite a lot. So we had these trips, and it was really a case of just getting people fundraising and then getting them to actually see where that fundraising goes, visiting the projects, getting stuck in, and learning where that cash flow goes. I think there's an element of cynicism sometimes about charities where money goes, and I don't really believe in that. I believe that we should be going out there and really understanding it. So I came out of university and to make the move into finance, and I really enjoyed my time there. And in the end, I ended up sort of working in the impact investing area, which is investing in companies that are making a social difference, and that really kind of lit me up. But there's one day at Goldman Sachs. It was the final interview. I was with the managing director. It was over a glass of wine. It was as easy as it could be in theory. And he just said, I don't think you should take the job. I think you should we'll take a pound of flesh, and you really shouldn't be doing that. You should be back out in Africa because that's what fires you up. And at the time, I was thinking about taking on my first marathon, and just as we were leaving to say goodbye, he just said, "Oh, and about the marathon, just make sure you do it in another country because it will change your life." And I went over to Athens, which is where my family's from, and did the original Athens course. And in that process, we landed like literally the night before, and my family there had gone and picked up our race packs. We didn't even get to the expo. We then did the race in the morning, had a quick kebab, and got back on the plane back to England. And we'd never really seen any of Greece or got to feel for it. And so I just carried on running, and then I started training for an Ironman. And a lot of people were saying about this Ironman, like, are you fundraising? And actually, an Ironman is really kind of you're doing it for your own demons, you're doing it for your own things, really. And I wasn't. But at the same time, I was doing some projects out in Uganda, and I thought, well, we could do that. We could fundraise for something. But when I went out on the fundraising, sort of trying to get £3,000 together, that was all we needed. I said, like, I kind of fed up with everyone donating and putting their credit card away, and that being the end of the journey. That should be the beginning of the journey. That should be like, what you're doing is making a difference. It's changing people's lives. Yep. And so I said, there's a room of about 200 people, and I said, so I don't want you to just donate. I want you to come out to Uganda, and when you do, we're going to run a marathon. And I just carried on, and I didn't even know I'd said it. And at the end, some people came up and said, I love the marathon idea. We should do that. And I was like, okay. And so 6 weeks later, at the Ugandan embassy at Trafalgar Square, launching the first Uganda International Marathon, it went really, really well. And people came out, went and worked in the projects and the communities we've been fundraising for the week. And on the final day, they got to run a marathon through the hills and the villages, and with the people. Like, all the charities bring along the people to run with you. And so you're running as a community, and you're not running for yourself anymore. And so that was the idea behind Impact Marathon. So I moved on from the Uganda team and started setting up the race in Nepal, Colombia, Malawi, Guatemala, with the same idea of getting people to go and see the country and come back empowered. And I think that's the key. And one of the things that I find interesting about the books like, I left Microsoft to change the world, and those types of things is I really believe that there's certain people who are ready to do that and right to do that. But I also believe the fastest way to make a difference is for people to stay at Microsoft, to stay at Unilever, to stay at Goldman Sachs, and to become leaders of that business with an idea that there should be a social focus on all of it, with an idea that Unilever should know all of its supply chains and know the impact that Goldman Sachs should probably question quite a lot of what they do. And there's so much that we can do if we actually stay in those jobs and with passion try and change the way that business works, so that there is a real focus on the social impact that they have.
I mean, clearly you're really passionate about making a difference. I mean, obviously, I think if people get over to the website, which we'll certainly make sure is in the feed, and we'll give them at the end of the show, I think people can really see. I was watching one of your videos, and you can feel the passion for what you're doing coming across in your voice. And I love that, because I think, mind, body and soul, when you've got a focus to make a difference, and it comes from a place of passion, you're really, I guess, empowered to go out there and kind of, I guess, do the things that, other people may not already do, and give up on things where, I'm sure you've had many challenges. I mean, obviously, as the CEO and founder of the Impact Marathon series, you're creating that community. And, you mentioned you're doing it at the moment in 4 areas: Nepal, Malawi, Colombia, and Guatemala, you said, yeah?
Guatemala, yes.
Brilliant. Okay, and I guess in your mind's eye is the further expansion on different areas as well, that you want to get into the communities and make a difference.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're really focused on. So we link up with the global goals, the UN global goals. So it's 17 goals that run until 2030, and they range from ending poverty to climate change to sustainable cities, that type of thing. So each of our races takes on 3 of those goals, and each runner picks out a global goal they want to fundraise for, and they all go and visit the projects that we're working with in country. So really, the focus right now is making sure that we've got all 17 goals covered across the races. And so we've got 2 more races at the moment in the pipeline that we're working on. One in the Middle East, and then one up in East Asia, which is a really interesting one. So we want to just sort of keep on expanding into new communities, but but never making the race too big. Like if we have more than 120 people living with us for the week, we don't know their names. We don't know why they're there. We don't know what fires them up. We don't know their story. And what's powerful about Race Week is that community sense within the runners as well as within the community itself that we're working in.
Yeah.
So if we had 500 people, we wouldn't have that same intimacy and that same openness that people have. So we want to always keep it small and just have a few more races. We're not looking to shoot the lights out or be the biggest or the best races, just the most sort of like humble and impactful.
Well, this is it, and I think you're clear on your website, and we can make a big difference. And I think a lot of people, maybe through their environment they find themselves in or their social conditioning, underestimate the power that they carry to make a positive difference, not just in their world, but the greater world. So give us a bit of an insight. So there's some real passionate people that are listening to this show that are open for development and I guess have a purpose to make a difference in their field. And for me, connecting with you, I'm a real believer in the law of attraction and synchronicity. And one of my passion to succeed is to be able to go along a similar impactful route and raise enough money through what we create in the future to be able to go to places maybe like Cambodia would be somewhere I'd love to go. But I've got 2 little girls and I want to take them, and it's like what you're saying, it's not just about putting your hand in your pocket and putting your credit card back in your wallet, it's actually getting involved. And I remember watching there's a company called Success Resources owned by a guy called Richard Tan, who's based in Singapore. He's the CEO, and I just remember seeing something they did where they literally took they're a very successful business, and they took some of they'd set aside a level of income. They basically take this money, but also the community that worked with Success Resources and a lot of the wider community that kind of came in from other businesses. And they not only invested and paid for the impact, but they got in and got their hands dirty. And I think, money's not really the important thing. It's the feeling you get for actually a bit of blood, sweat and tears to make a difference.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's money is not the reason why we can uplift people. No. And even getting stuck in isn't the reason we can uplift people, because it has to be done with the community involved. It has to be something that's really fun. It has to be something that genuinely uplifts and is a positive influence on people's lives. And so it's really important for us we spend a year building up to an event at least, and spend that time really working, listening to the community and listening and working out what's best in order to make sure that we don't just turn up and have a negative impact, and because that's really easy to do as well. So it's a really fine line between going out and being passionate and going for it. And then also you've got to think about the negative externalities of that. But then the other thing is you've got to not overthink about the negative externalities, because otherwise you'll never do anything. Yeah. You've just got to go and make it happen. And I think that's one of the things that we've always prided ourselves on is sometimes we get overlooked, and sometimes we don't get we need to get more sponsorship on board. We haven't been able to do that very well. And so we've just gone with the field of dreams, build it and they'll come mentality. It's like a big motto for us. Build it and they will come. Like, we know what we're doing. We know how to do this really, really well. So if people don't get it because it's a new idea, that's fine. If people don't like it, that's fine as well, because we know what we're going to build, and we know that on race day, everyone's going to be looking at it and going, that's really, really cool. And they're going to want to be getting involved in the future. So that's where the thick skin comes in, because you have to not be too academic and not be too gung-ho. You have to find that nice little balance.
Hey, look, I totally get that, and again, the hairs on the arms of hairs on my arms are standing up listening to you, because looking at your website, I'm thinking, right, when's the next one? And for me, I'm relatively healthy and keep myself fit. Running's not something I've always loved, unless I'm chasing a football. However, which I know you've had a lot of impact as well. You were doing some coaching in Ghana at one point. Is that right?
Yeah, I was coaching and I was playing for a middle division team in Ghana as a goalkeeper, which is a brutal thing to do on Ghanaian football pitches. So yeah, and as well, football fitness is really different to running distance. Like, I can run for ages now, but if you put me on a five-a-side football pitch, I'll be knackered in 10 minutes. All about sprinting and changing direction. Like, nah, I'm scared of that now.
Well, hey, look, I'm like inspired to come on one of these impactful marathons for sure, and I'm not just saying that to be talking to you. I'm saying that because I'm passionate about making a difference and seeing what you're doing. Just looking at race week, and what I'd like to do, because obviously I'm almost talking as if the guys that are listening know what we're talking about. Can you give us a little bit of an insight into? I think I know you've got an event coming up in Nepal in November. Can you give us a bit of an insight if somebody's thinking, look, I want to look into this, I want to make a difference, I love running, I want to get involved, I want to be impactful. How would they get involved and give people a bit of an insight into what that race week consists of, what people are actually going to be doing with you and the community?
Yeah, it's good. Well, I'll talk you through what we did last year in Nepal, because that's a really good example of what we're trying to do in every country. And so you land in Kathmandu, and I'll be at the airport with a big hug. So that's the most important thing of the whole week. You get a big hug, we get you over to the hotel, and we'll have a nice evening dinner, like local food, and we'll just start to introduce the themes of the week, and we'll have some speakers in who are Nepali speakers who can really start to demystify the country, make sure that everyone's thinking in that terms of like, we're a platform for change and discussion. We're not here to judge, and we're not here to find the answers. We're just here to create a discourse within the country. So for instance, we looked a little bit this year about trafficking, which is one of the major issues that hits Nepal, because it's got a 1,200-mile border with India. So trafficking, you can say, is a negative, but there's a push and there's a pull factor. There are reasons why it happens, and we discuss and look and explore those. And the next day, you'll head out around Kathmandu to go visit the projects that you were fundraising for. So if you were fundraising for gender equality, you'll go and visit with the burns violence survivors, or you'll go visit with Mighty Nepal, who work on the front line with the trafficking, doing rescue missions into India. And then that evening, we'll head up out of Kathmandu to what we call the Athletes Village, which is a big pop-up campsite with loads of big safari tents with beds inside, so it's nice and comfortable. And you'll probably get there after sunset. It'll be pretty cold, and then in the morning you'll wake up and we've got a 180-degree view of the Himalayas. We've got morning yoga as the sun rises. We've got a training run that you can go on. And then last year we tried to build a 5-kilometer water pipeline. With the community. They all brought along the tools. The women at the front, the Nepali women, I cannot believe, like, they were amazing, just going straight forward, and the men were at the back drinking beers, passing the pipeline through. So it just gives you a good idea of Nepal. And so we spent 2 days basically doing that, working on building this pipeline. It was really ambitious. It was really on the edge. It was dirty work. It was pickaxes. It was the Nepali way of building a pipeline, which you can see 1,000 different ways you can make it more efficient, but heck, everyone just got stuck in. And then in the evenings, we got the sunset bar, and again, that's that campfire where you get to meet the 100 other people that we had there last year, and the stories that get shared and the way people open up is really, really cool. And then in the Friday, so Wednesday, Thursday, you're getting stuck into the community project. Then Friday, we kind of relax, take a bit of time. We are going to run a marathon tomorrow, so it's a bit of time to get your legs sorted. And we have like a pop-up cinema at the campsite where we did a video of Meera Rai, who's this incredible ultramarathon runner in Nepal, who age 16 was a Maoist soldier in the Civil War, and now is the second best ultramarathon runner in the world. So we watched a video on her, and her first race that she got sort of discovered was through Shivapuri National Park, which is the place she'll be running the next day. Wow. And then the Saturday is race day, and it's 2,000 meters of climbing at 2,500 meters of elevation in altitude. And it's really, one thing that you said was like people who love running. It's not even people that love running. We don't have the best runners in the world coming to Impact Marathon races. Mm-hmm. We have the people who just say, yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah. And then they find a way to make it happen. We had one girl who signed up 3 weeks before, and she was our last finisher, but she found a way to make it happen. And so there's a whole buzz around that. We have about 300-400 Nepalis joining us to run as well. And it's just a real party atmosphere and celebration. And last year, Meera Rai actually came and did the prizes as well, which was really great to have her. And the energy and the positivity and the love and the light that came from her was amazing. So, and then we have a big after party, kind of like closing speeches. And the next day, we have like other things people can do. So some people went on to just do Everest Base Camp straight away after doing a marathon, which was crazy. But then we've got like, flight over Everest or up to Annapurna Circuit, like loads of different things that people can do, or you can fly home. So that's kind of how Impact Meet plays out, really.
Yeah, it sounds like a real kind of packed week of, getting involved and making a difference. Really, it's really exciting. And when you look at what you're creating as a community, I mean, obviously this has been a passion of yours, and you can hear that kind of that commitment and that passion and drive in your voice. What would you say? Because obviously these are entrepreneurs, so people can come and connect with you. They can get involved. They like me. They can have the inspiration to like see, right, okay, how can I get involved in this and start being a part of something different? Because it does look super, super cool. And I know Nepal, Colombia, particularly always been on my top of my travel list. I've done a lot of traveling like yourself, and so I'm thinking, right, how do I make this happen? So I know, a lot of people will be maybe thinking the same, but how have you made your journey happen? I know you're a firm believer in the law of attraction, and, do you think that's helped you along your way to where you've got to today?
Yeah, I think the phrase that Escape the City, which is a London-based recruitment firm, really, the way they say it is about engineered serendipity. Yeah. And just really putting that energy out there. I found like Colombia is a really good example. I didn't speak a word of Spanish, not even one word. And I just had this gut feeling that we really wanted to set up in Colombia. And I was just didn't really know how to make it happen. I sent out some emails, didn't really get much. So just booked the flight, and 2 days later, 4 a.m., landed in Bogota. Again, never been to Latin America, never spoken any Spanish, couldn't even ask for a coffee at 4 a.m., which was really important. And I spent 5 days on an Airbnb sofa, just emailing and calling and getting literally nowhere. And I just thought, Colombia hates me. Like, this country hates it. And the negativity was like really building up. And, my business partner, I called him up. I don't know why we're here. Like, no one cares. And he said, well, give it till Friday. And if on Friday it's not working, give it all you've got. And then on Friday, we'll get across to Ecuador, because we've got great contacts there. We've got loads of people. And I woke up on Friday with a WhatsApp from a former Miss Colombia called Claudia Elena. And she asked me for lunch, and she introduced me to her husband, who is a guy called Carlos Vives, who's a man I'd never heard of because I don't speak a word of Spanish. But in Latin America, this is a pop star who sells out 70,000 seated stadiums wherever he goes. Wow. He did a 13-time Grammy Award winner. He did a single with Shakira last year, and in Colombia, they care about Carlos, not Shakira. It's like, and so suddenly we're going up to his hometown. We're spending time with him. We were working on it backstage when he played at the Royal Albert Hall in London, his first ever London gig. So there's just so many things that happen because you put yourself out there and you just make yourself present. It's all well and good sending an email or having a Skype call, but there's nothing beats just getting out in country and saying, I'm here, this is my dream, this is my vision, who's up for it. And loads of people will just ignore you, especially in Colombia, where they just don't reply to emails, even now. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's that key of getting out in the environment, getting in your arena and living the game of life, really. And as you said, putting your out there and being present, which, isn't common nowadays. I mean, people sat behind their PlayStations and watching TV rather than getting out in the world and experience life. I mean, I'm based over in Spain at the moment, and I brought my 2 little girls out here a year ago, and literally just put them into Spanish school. Didn't speak a word of Spanish, and they're literally fluent now in 3 languages, which is just phenomenal. When people can realise the power we have within, when you're almost just put into that environment, like you're saying, you've gone out there, haven't spoken a word of Spanish, and you've just left your heart on the tarmac, so to speak, and put yourself out there, and you've engineered that success, which is inspiring, really inspiring.
Definitely a fun story.
Yeah, totally, very much so. So you're out in Kenya at the moment, and I know you do some white label events for outside of the Impact Marathons. But I'm really kind of stoked to have been able to connect with you, Nick. I know you're really busy, but there's one thing I just wanted to ask you. I read some information where you'd you'd put a post up somewhere and you talked about 16 lessons that you'd learned over the year, I think, of 2016 when you started going on this journey. I mean, to share all 16 may be a little bit much to ask with your time and your commitment that you have out in Kenya, but could you share a few lessons, maybe 3 lessons that have been really impactful for you in your journey to go from where you was walking out of that Goldman Sachs interview and literally making a difference and sort of chasing your dream to be more impactful on a worldwide front?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I think the first one's what we just talked about earlier: build it and they will come. Like that for me is absolutely it. Is that no matter how many times you get told that this isn't a great idea, or this isn't really an investable business, or whatever, it's just a case of just keep on going, keeping one foot in front of the other. And once you start to build it, people start to come around it because they see it, they see the vision come to life. You can't always expect people to buy into the vision just from what you said. They can feel your energy, but they may not get the idea, and it can take some time. The other part, I think, is the first lesson is integrity can't be compartmentalized. So you can't have a business that's a social business, and then on the side, you don't have your personal life in order, or you don't. And I've learned that, really the hard way is just like bringing that personal life back into order and having integrity in everything that I do, because you can't. Once you've got something wrong in one part of your brain, it will infiltrate the rest, and you can't have that purity of vision. So that's good. I think happiness is only real when shared. That's from Into the Wild. Amazing film, amazing book as well. Happiness is only real when shared. I spent the first 18 months of the business on my own, sleeping on Airbnb sofas, and it's really a great journey. But now, for the last 8 months, my girlfriend's been on the road with me, and it's just so much different. It's so much more different to take in the joys together and to have someone there to help you through those difficult times as well. And she's setting up a teaching Spanish online business and as well. So it's a really exciting time for us. And it suddenly brings it all to life. It's the same as in Nepal. The happiness came when there was 120 people there.
Of course.
And when you get to share it with people and share this vision. So I think that's a really good one. I guess the final, most powerful one for me in 2017 has been about is lessons that I got from the Ryan Holiday book, Ego is the Enemy. And it's just about that ego being such a fundamental part. I used to have business partners who are ruining themselves with it, and I used to do the same. And just knowing that you have to let go of that. It's not about you. It's not about that. And taking those, it helps with those difficult times. We postponed the Colombia race, and that should have been one of the worst days of my career. And yet it just felt like the right thing to do. And the only thing that was holding me back and making me angry about it was that sense that people are looking at me. People are waiting for me to fail. They're not. People are looking at their own business. People are looking at their own things. They're not interested. They're not. If they do want you to fail, then they really don't matter. If you genuinely want someone else to fail, then your opinion is of little importance to me.
Of course.
So letting go of that idea that everyone's looking at you, or that you have to fulfill it, or that it's all on you. It's not. Relax about it, because it's just keep working, just keep building it, and then they'll come. And letting go of that has been really, really important for 2017 for sure, because we just had to reassess the business. We went too aggressive, we pulled it back, and now 6 months later, it's really starting to move in the way that we always dreamed it would. But if we hadn't done that, if we'd gone gung-ho and said, no, we're going to make it happen no matter what, because X, Y, Z, then we'd probably be out of business now.
Yeah. Well, you're certainly creating an impact, and I think listening to you, your core and your integrity is even, I guess really in line with your mission, which is really important. You're clearly a guy that walks your own talk, and I'm really grateful to have had some of your time, Nick. I will 100%.
Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, I'm certainly going to be on one of your races, that's for sure. Because and for me, the race will kill me physically, but for me it's not.
Otherwise, I haven't my job.
It's not for me. It's not about that. I'll go through the burn and the pain of that, because I think actually getting involved and doing something in a community is the biggest thing for me, and it's, you know, something that I want to do and something that I will continue to do. So I'm going to start that initial journey with you guys. So guys, look, for all of you listeners over on our Passion to Succeed podcast show, Nick's and his partner's website is impactmarathon.com. So go and check it out. It's really inspiring. Watch the video. There's a video about, I think, about 1.5 minutes long of Nick, and you'll really, you know, get the message again, and you'll see the congruency and the passion that really kind of lies within Nick and this mission to make an impact worldwide. Look, I'm really grateful for you, Nick. So again, thanks again. Guys, get connected. I really do hope you've enjoyed another one of our Passion to Succeed podcast show. A show really focused on helping you raise your game and, you know, raise your expectations and your beliefs in the possibilities that lie within you, around you and before you. And you do have it within you to have an impact. And you have an impact on everything around you on a daily basis. Your positivity, your energy, your focus, your desires really can be impactful. So for that, I'm really, really grateful. Nick, we lost you momentarily there. I know you're over in Kenya. That's great. Hey, look, mate, I was just really thanking all the listeners and directing them over to your site. So look, thanks again, Nick. I really appreciate your time, and we will most definitely connect again soon. So have a fantastic day out in Kenya, buddy.
You too, buddy. You too. Thanks.
Cheers.
If you enjoyed today's show, we would appreciate it if you would like. Most people share through social media, then subscribe, rate and provide a review over at iTunes and SoundCloud. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. The Passion to Succeed show is brought to you by passiontosucceed.com. Get over to the website, subscribe and join the community of passionate people.